quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
Can you state
She's
categorically,
asking a question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. You might be wondering why it's been a couple weeks since we've had a Dave versus the MSM. Well, it's not from my doing. It's because, once again, we have been targeted on the censorship front. On YouTube, we now have 2 strikes for content that was 110% accurate and many months ahead of the curve. Our first strike came after we were notified of a video that we had provided, and it had been greened and had no problems, from a year ago that they then targeted. Now, what was it on? It was on, from a year ago, March 14th, 2022, a year ago, about the coming banking and financial chaos. When I tell you I put you months, if not years ahead of the curve, that's not hyperbole. Well, they had a problem with that. A year later, gave us a strike. And then within about a week later, we got our second strike from what? A video that I did from July of 2022, 8 months ago, about the fact that we were at the time in a recession already and headed for a depression, and a component of that was going to be the banking crisis. Was fine for 8 months, and all of a sudden, boom. And I'm sure we're well on our way to the third strike, which means elimination of our YouTube channel. All the time and effort over all the years we've put into it. Now, it's been heavily suppressed for 4 years. We know that based on our follower numbers, our notifications, our view counts. It's heavily, heavily suppressed. And the goal was to get me to quit, to shut up, to disillusion me so much that I wouldn't put all the time and effort into every one of these presentations. Every one you see has at least 10 to 15 hours of prep into it prior to me giving the presentation. You know, if Janda's only making $12 a video on his monetization, he's just going to, why would he keep doing this unless he's stupid or dedicated to you? That's why I kept doing it. Because the more people that are exposed to this information that the cult wants suppressed and censored, the more people that become empowered. Many people would say, just leave that platform and go somewhere else. They're all suppressed other than our own website, davejanda.com. If you want, there's a tremendous amount of free content there. And also our premium service subscription content for 30 cents a day, $9 a month. You can try it for a month and get rid of it. I don't know why. This is what's so frustrating. I don't know why anyone would. Because the information we provide puts you months, if not years, ahead of the curve, and we have a track record of that. Our subscribers in mass have told us, you saved my life, you saved my family's life by giving it information so we could anticipate what was coming and know what was coming. This is why this channel, everything is so heavily suppressed. The cult. What do I mean by the cult? What some people call the globalist syndicate, the deep state, the New World Order crowd, the criminal national banking syndicate, the globalist syndicate, the globalist cult. Because they are a cult. They focus on what I call the 4 C's. Conflict, crisis, chaos, and censorship. And they got to have the censorship part. That's key. They want you misinformed, disinformed, and completely uninformed because it makes you an easier target for the syndicate. So that when chaos occurs that you're unaware of is coming, you run to them. And then they provide you their solution. Their solution which leads to them getting more power, control, and more of their ever-precious financial resources, and leaves you with less freedom, less control, less liberty, less financial resources, and less health and wellness. Fact. They want us to go away. I will not willfully do that, because my goal is to help as many people as possible. And they want to block that effort. And that bothers me. So rather than stopping, I'm going to continue until they hit us with that, boom, third, which is probably just, I don't know, hours, days, minutes away. And that's why it's important for you to know that we're available 24/7 at davejanda.com. We've also done something else. They want me to curl up in a little ball and take my team with me, best IT team in the world. And that's why we've been able to keep providing these videos to you here. Okay? Their efforts. There are things, tricks they can do to make it so that the censorship platforms don't quite understand what you understand the words I'm saying, but their little platforms don't. That's the steps we take to have to take, which is ridiculous. It's actually evil that we have to do these things to battle the evil side of the equation. But we've done something else. In addition to the content we have at davejanda.com, 24/7, it's all there. We've also created another outlet, davejanda.tv, fondly known as DaveTube. You got it. They want to play games? All right. You play games with me, then you end up having to do a little slam dancing. Yeah. davejanda.tv. Our videos are there. Our videos are also at davejanda.com. It's important for you to know that and then to pass that information on to others, because I'm not sure how long this is going to be here. Go back to George Orwell from 1984, the cult's playbook. Quote, all tyrannies rule through fraud and force. But once the force is exposed, they must exclusively rely on force. And their force comes in conflict and crisis and chaos and censorship. Right now, as we have outlined to you for many, many months, actually many, many years, our financial system has been rigged to come down on itself. And we're seeing this now in the banking system, something that I told you about with Dr. Robin McCutcheon, a professor of economics, PhD in economics, one of the vids that were taken down from a year ago. And that other video that I warned you about in July of 2022 about the banking system. And it being used to bring down the system. It's important for you to know this, because the cult has ordered financial chaos, because they had it planned, and there's been some changes here, but they've had it planned that with that financial chaos, that you'll give up the remainder of your freedoms and liberties by accepting their central bank digital currencies, by accepting their special drawing rights package of fiat currencies that they own and control. Peter Schiff, the U.S. banking system is on the verge of a much bigger collapse than 2008. Banks own long-term paper at extremely low interest rates. They can't compete with short-term treasuries. Mass withdrawals from depositors seeking higher yields will result in a wave of bank failures. Now, lest you think that that is just an accident or malfeasance. No, it's part of the plan. Part of the plan. So that they could implement their solutions. Solutions being central bank digital currencies. Their solutions being special drawing rights, these basket of currencies controlled by the central banks. How did we end up with such long-term rates? Oh, that would be the Federal Reserve. And then who increased the rates at an incredible rate over the past year? Oh, that would be the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve, not a part of the federal government. Don't let federal. It's like Federal Express. It has nothing to do with the government. Neither does the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve was created out of thin air by the banking syndicate. It's a group of independent bankers that owns allegiance to not you, not a country, but to themselves, the banksters. Which is why the banksters always make out like banshees in this, whether it's 2007 or 2008 or 2000 or the 1930s, or what they implemented in 1907 and 1908, the banking crisis that led to the establishment of the Federal Reserve so they could take control of the money printing activities of this country. 1907, 1908. I presented, it's actually a lead on the very top of our YouTube channel, which who knows how long that's going to be there, and also on davejanda.com, free, about the road to freedom, our fight for freedom. It's about my family's 4-generational battle against the globalist cult and how my family took on the banking system and how you can protect yourself. And it's in that video and it's free. It's inspirational, it's motivational, it's educational, and it puts you ahead of the curve. You need to watch it if you haven't. But it's not just Peter Schiff giving you a heads up. Investor Carl Icahn issues grim warning on U.S. economy breaking down. This is from the Epoch Times. Billionaire investor Carl Icahn said that the U.S. economy is at a breaking point, blaming worse than mediocre leadership and warning that soaring inflation threatens to topple America's position on the world stage. This is not an accident. It's willful. Falling in its own footprint, the financial building. Sound familiar? Yeah. Quote, "The system is breaking down, and we absolutely have a major problem in our economy today," Icahn stated. He labeled the United States as one of the worst countries in the world as far as corporate governance. That's not a mistake. It's planned. And what they're planning is they got to take out the little guys. We saw this in healthcare, starting with that good old Obamacare program, the Affordability Act. Yeah. Right. Exactly the opposite. Part of that operation was to take out independent practices, group practices, conglomerate everybody so you could control them easier. That's what they're doing with these small and regional banks. They've been targeted so that everybody is pushed into the large money center banks, which make a very easy way to implement their solutions. Why are small banks being targeted? Well, this from actually Goldman Sachs, no less. Banks with less than $250 billion in assets account for 50% of U.S. commercial and industrial lending, 60% of residential real estate lending, 80% of commercial real estate lending, and 45% of consumer lending. Think of it. If you really want to shut down an economy, target the small banks. Right? Yeah. There's a reason why that's happening, folks. It's not an accident. And then, usually when in a free market economy, and we're not, we're in a crony capitalism environment, drastically different than a free market capitalist economy. And we've been in this crony capitalism environment for decades. That was created by the cult, the syndicate, the benefit, the cult, the syndicate. And it really started, you can go back to 1913 with the Institute of the Federal Reserve. That's really when we started to lose control. Actually, a big part of it, about the loss of control. But when something fails in a free market system, usually the competitors come in and pick up the pieces. No. Another scandal, Biden administration radicals blocked the Silicon Valley bank sale, one of the first smaller regional banks to go down. Blocked its sale. Instead, they nationalized it, more central control, and blamed Trump for the collapse. Actually, if you want to go back to the collapse, go back to 2009 with the Obama-Biden administration when they got rid of those GAAP rules and made it so that banks could put on their books the full market value of their investments when, in fact, they might be 80 cents on the dollar, 70 cents on the dollar, 30 cents on the dollar, making them look more liquid than they actually were. Go back even further to 1999 when Clinton, globalist cult member, and his administration got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act, which was instituted in 1933. From 1933 to 99, there weren't any significant major banking problems, but boy, after that. Why? Because the Glass-Steagall Act that the Clinton administration and Congress removed, the Glass-Steagall Act said, if you're in banking, you're in banking. If you're investments, you're investments, but you can't have the two working side by side, which prevented a lot of the problems that occurred in the 1920s. But they got rid of that. And right after 1999 repeal, the Glass-Steagall Act, what happened? Well, the 2000 bubble. We had the 2007-2008 problem. We had the 2019 issue. And now we got the 2023 issue. Big time, right? So, wasn't something done by Trump. It was long in the making. But they blocked a sale. How totalitarian can you get? Well, but there is a winner here. Excuse me. Russia. Russia mocks Western banking crisis, saying the aggressive actions taken against Russia a year ago have actually provided insulation. Quote, our banking system has certain connections with some segments from Zero Hedge, some segments of the international financial system, but is mostly under illegal restrictions from the collective West, said Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov. We are, to a certain extent, insured against the negative impact of the banking crisis in the West and the United States because we were isolated from it. Meanwhile, the Fed is pumping in $2 trillion in liquidity. What does that do? It creates hyperinflation, as we've always warned you against. Right? Headline from Zero Hedge, the Fed balance sheet exploded by $300 billion as bank bailouts led to record discount window surge. Now, people believe that, well, my bank account is protected, my savings and my checking account, because the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, they have it backstopped, which reportedly they do. Let's just look at a couple numbers. I went to the FDIC website. They backstop over $17 trillion, with a T, $17 trillion of deposits in banks around our country. Another way to think of 17 trillion is 17,000 billion, right? Went to another part of the FDIC website. How much do they have in assets to protect? So if they're backstopping 17 trillion, that means they would at least have $17 trillion and $1 to backstop, right? So they're flush. No, actually they have 125 billion. What? They're backstopping 17,000 billion with 125 billion. So as the banking system, let's say, has more problems, where are they going to get all that extra money from? That extra almost $17 trillion. Well, that's going to come from the Federal Reserve printing more money. 17 trillion. What is that going to do to your existing dollars? Yeah, depreciate their value and create a hyperinflationary event. One of the other side effects of this is that these banks, whether it's Silicon Valley Bank or Silvergate or Republic National Bank or Signature Bank, they're all heavily into the crypto world, funding crypto exchanges, funding crypto startups. Well, if all these banks are gone, what does that do to the crypto business? It puts them under duress, doesn't it? At least duress. I mean, you can have the best cryptocurrency product in the world, but if all the trading platforms are Gonzo, deep sixed. What's that going to do? Right. And then the FDIC that, made sure that only certain people could, to block the sale of these banks. The FDIC says that with Signature Bank, that any buyer has to stop all crypto businesses. Well, why is that? Because the cult sees cryptos as their competition that people would run to. They also see precious metals. This is why they've been using paper to suppress precious metals prices for so long, to dissuade people from protecting themselves. Go back to that video I did about my family over 4 generations' time. Really important. You know that. But they still, in spite of their criminal manipulation with paper markets in the precious metals arena, gold and silver have still appreciated. And they're going to appreciate more because they're the best insurance around. Because, as my dad used to say, if you hold it, you own it. And paper is vapor. Go back to 2008. The first company that went down was Bear Stearns in March of 2008. And the cult stepped in and said, oh, we got to shore it up. Everybody's good. 6 months later, the economy blew up because Lehman went down. And then the crash ensued. The big boys were lined up short. They made plenty off of Lehman going down. But Joe Public got killed, right? Joe Public got annihilated financially. So right now, they're telling us all is fine. Well, I believe we had our Bear Stearns moment, our first event, like in March of 2008. But the second event, the Lehman moment, which was the big one, has not happened yet. But it's about to. And I believe that big event is related to the derivatives positions of the banks of the world going down. Derivatives are not investments. They're essentially bets. You can have a derivative of something going up, price of something going down. And if you bet the wrong way, it's like betting on the horse the wrong way, you lose. But the problem with derivatives is you not only lose the money you put in, you can actually lose more than the money you put in. Which is another Ben Janda rule. Never, ever purchase a derivative. I'm telling you, he was adamant about that. As he said, you can win big, but you lose more often, even bigger. He used to say, Dave, it's more hazardous than going to Vegas. You have a better shot. And he used to say, and they don't build those big castles in Vegas because they're losing. But you got a better shot in Vegas than you do with derivatives. So I did a little research. As of December 2022, through the Bank of International Settlements report, foreign banks had secret derivative positions of 10 times the capital on hand. Their derivatives in foreign banks total over $39 trillion. I then went to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency in the United States. The derivative positions, according to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, of J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and Citigroup, the derivative positions, as of this is of September 30th, 2022, the derivative positions of those four entities in the United States was $195 trillion. Folks, That is the 2023 version of what's going to happen with the Lehman moment from 2008. When those derivative positions go south, that is the big one. And this is why they're trying to set the system so that when that happens, you run to the globalist cult and say, save me. And they say, oh, we have a solution for you. It's no more dollars per se. You know, they can be used for exchange in the country, but we have this basket called the special drawing rights, and we have this other entity that you can do on your computer and your phone called central bank digital currencies, and you're okay, you're safe. No, you're not. Folks, you need to protect yourself. You need to plan ahead. You need to protect yourself one more time. This is not hyperbole. It's fact. I believe, and if you listen to our guests, whether it's Adriana Reed, by the way, Camino Company, I believe most honest place on the face of the earth for your best store of insurance, physical gold and physical silver. Adriana Reed, Ed Steer, Bill Holter, Craig Hemke. These people have told you, well, Rob Kirby, God bless his soul, who's with us every day from a better seat up above us. They have been regulars on my platform for years, telling you what was coming and how to protect yourself. You need to listen to them. You need to listen to that video I did about the road to freedom, the fight for freedom. Because the cult wants to make you destitute. Because if you're destitute, you will willfully give up your remaining freedoms and liberties. And that's what we're in the process of. Don't fall into their trap. Protect yourself. One more time. Not hyperbole. Not fear porn. It's putting you ahead of the curve. My bag in medicine was not only being an orthopedic surgeon, taking care of people that were injured, but to try to prevent people from getting injured. My role, that I was still known worldwide, is my work, yes, in orthopedics and shoulder reconstructive surgery, but in particular, prevention. I look at the world in the sense that what can I do to help as many people as possible avoid hardship? That's what I've dedicated my entire life for. And I'm telling you, you can protect yourself. But if you don't listen and you don't act upon it, they got you. It's fact. It's not hyperbole. It's fact. DaveJanda.com, 24/7. Our alternative, DaveJanda.tv. Our YouTube channel, I believe they have targeted to be taken down. Unfortunately. But they've targeted that for years based on what they've done. So, we don't curl up in a little ball and we don't go away. We continue our efforts of educating and empowering. Because with education and empowerment, we end this reign of terror perpetrated by the globalist cult, and we help and save as many people as possible. I thank you for joining me today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. We're available 24/7 at DaveJanda.com. Tremendous amount of free public content. The real meat of the matter, 30 cents a day, $9 a month, priceless content. It's there for you. We hope you'll become part of our freedom family. Thanks for joining me today.